For 63 minutes, Scotland were absolutely minging. 30 minutes later, they had delivered a huge result in the country's World Cup hopes. Welcome to the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. My name is Joel Sked, and I am delighted to be joined by Tony Anderson to recap Scotland's deserved and scudding 3-1 win over Greece. Never in doubt, Tony.
Oh, that was like pulling over and don't know what you're worried about. What a doddle. That last 10 minutes was... I almost feel, this is going to sound bad, I almost feel like this is wasted on Scotland. I would need these sort of things for Hibs. Like these sort of games where everything just sort of turns to gold for you despite everything going wrong. But yeah, those last 10 minutes, I think just that moment with Angus Gunn, the much maligned goalkeeper, and the much maligned position from Scotland, making a genuinely world-class save, because that is sailing at the top corner. And then for it just to swing to the other end where Big Dykes's causing havoc and their goalkeeper decides to parry it back in so he can hammer it, of course, into the roof of the net. I suppose that probably just summed the game up quite nicely towards the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was a nice kind of comparison of the luck and the lack of luck, or the incompetence shown by Greece in certain aspects. But we will talk about that first hour in the second half of the show, because I think you have to touch on it. And there's elements of it that was really worrying. But I mean, in such a dynamic where the group is going to be done, the group's so small, and it is 6 games over the space of 3 international breaks across 3 months. Winning is all that matters, and Scotland found a way to win somehow. It started with Ryan Christie's goal, and I think we start this positive talk by looking at the fact that Scotland scored so soon after conceding. Because if it lasted a wee, like Hampden had turned, and if they had allowed it to kind of fester for a wee bit longer, it would have been a hell of a lot more difficult for Scotland, rather than taking the momentum away from Greece completely.
Yeah, and I just think how much the crowd turned when Doak was taken off for Gilmour. And you're like, well, yes, we all want to see Billy Gilmour. We're looking for another avenue up the pitch, but we're looking for another avenue up the pitch so we can try and get Doak on the ball. Like that's sort of like the whole point and what we were trying to look at. But then it all just, and the goal just, again, they epitomise them playing us off the park, but then us eventually getting a free kick in the last third to lob in, and then the ball coming back out again, then come back in, and Grant Hanley sort of throwing himself about with the second ball, and it bouncing and coming to Christie so he can side foot home. It's a disgusting goal, and a disgusting goal that was still, despite all the lines, I think was offside. I think it was offside.
I've only seen it back twice, and the second one I was like, "Is my?" I just said, "Do I need to go do I need to go to Specsavers? I need to go and ask someone or see someone about someone?" Because I couldn't see a Greece player. I don't know if it was the most minuscule of obviously must be the most minuscule decisions where someone's heel was playing Grant Hanley on, but there was I've only seen it back twice, and the second time I still can't see the Greece player.
And the lines don't work. The lines still make it look like, to me, that the lines are pointing out that Grant Hanley's offside.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there, but it's just like sometimes, as you say, you just have to take it. You just have to enjoy it. And you hope that it sort of galvanises the Scotland team, not just in the sense of this group, but the fact that we'd sort of lost Hampden as a fortress, and after basically ever since sort of the Georgia game, possibly. Like that's when it feels like the last time where we were on a roll, and Hampden was sort of felt like a really tough place to go. I think we'd only won 1 in our last 9. Granted, some of them are mixed in with Nations League and a friendly with Iceland when we were played off the park. But it's just for the team to get that much of a hiding in that hour when we've still got good players, we've still got a good team, we still have a unit, and for them to turn it around and make that, you just hope that that's just like going into we're obviously going to win the game on Sunday. You know, there's just no doubt that that's going to happen. There's no point pretending it's not. But then you come in at the next break and you just, sometimes it's just like stuff like that makes a good team click. And that can be the case here. And especially because what was really worrying at the start is you're like, this is essentially the best team that we've got. Give or take, maybe we would want Gilmour in there, but that was a decision for him not to play. So, you know, we had all the best players that you want available. And this is the other beauty of having this 6-game run, 3 months, is that it's probably easier to get your best team out there, or at least get the same team going into every single game and every single break, because it's just in that tight period at the start of a season as well, when it's not everyone getting tired before. I think if I was an international manager, I'd massively prefer that than, you know, it's spread out over about 10 months, some of it coming in May when everyone's carrying injuries, all that jazz, things at the end of the season which never seem to work out. As much as annoying it is from a club supporter point of view, because the season stop-start over those sort of 3 key months from an international manager, and when you just put your Scotland hat on in terms of watching, it just seems like that seems a million times better.
Yeah, I mean, you compare it to, when you look at it, I know it's a campaign going into a tournament, but the difference between Scotland at the start of the qualification for Euros, when we beat Spain, I mean, it looked fantastic, and then getting to the Euros, and everyone's running on an empty, people have got injuries, and it's just, especially with Scotland, it just make, with key players, it makes such a difference. And going forward into the next campaign, I think is where there is I think there's the October one. It's like a 2-week or like a 3-week international break where you play a good number of games in that. So that's
probably better. Yeah, it's probably better. Even if you are shutting off the league season I'd still prefer it to get out. So if my club head on, I'm happy to maybe get out the way over a period, and then also you can maybe go into sort of international mode and spank out 6 games, you know, in 3 weeks or whatever.
It feels more like a club. I do like a club aspect from it as well.
And everyone's coming into it. And you saw the difference there, at the start of the season. I was excited before the game for we're going into we maybe talk about some individuals here, which is probably easier from a positive point of view than try to talk about a 10-minute salvo when everything else is pretty bad. You've seen a player like John McGinn, who's after Villa had a poor start to the season, he's really come into form in recent weeks. He seems to be a big reason why Villa have started to pick up results again. He started to score goals. And he was talking before the game about being fresh, getting a genuine summer off after playing so many matches last season, with them being in the Champions League as well. And he goes in it, and we haven't seen the best of him again for that reason for quite a long time. It's gone. So it was exciting to see McGinn, who I think I think him and Hanley were probably Scotland's best players over him. Hanley and Christie, probably the ones that would say had a good game. Like Lewis Ferguson had a horrible game and then had a good sort of maybe 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. So but these guys sort of look great, and it's really interesting seeing Hanley over now the last month. He's been the best player on his teams, for his team, from Denmark, and then sort of being in the Hibs team again for 3 weeks. He was Hibs' best player easily in all those games. And then into this one again, where over the 90 minutes, I thought Hanley done everything right. And in both the first and the second goal, it's him in the box that's causing all the havoc to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed with him today. I was really impressed with him. Said this on the podcast I did with Craig on Sunday, reviewing the 3 games from Saturday. I thought he was Hibs' best player. It was kind of him and Halkett were the 2 best players of the derby, and I think it said a lot about the derby.
Yeah.
But I thought he was excellent. I thought Suter was all right as well. I thought they defended, because Greece did put a lot of crosses in, and I thought they defended quite well. I thought Robertson defended the back post really, really well, considering the number of crosses that Greece were putting in. Did help that Greece probably took their best target. I know he missed a really good header, but they took their best target off towards the end of the game. But yeah, I think you could...
Yeah, that Pavlidis.
Pavlidis, yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of, kind of bringing it back to the... So, from the moment that Christie scored the goal and kind of looking ahead to the second and third goals. When Christie scored the goal, what were you thinking at that moment? Were you thinking
it's offside? I'm not celebrating. That
was when it was given. Were you thinking get out of here with a draw and just move it, or were you off the mindset that right, we've kind of stopped Greece's momentum, scored a goal, now's the time to win it?
Yeah, I think at that situation when we've sucker punched them in quite a horrible. If you're on the opposite side of that, that's stinking. You know, you've been playing a team off the park, and then I mean, we'll go back to the first half, but even like the after not making any changes, like the first 50 minutes of the second half, Greece could have scored 3 or 4 goals. It had only got worse for us in the second half, and it had only got better for them. So I was like, right. And the fact that they're a really young team, you feel like you can, when you sting them like that, and the rest of Hampden starts getting up for it. And like I used the example, a horrible goal, like just a forced goal. And then there's also a contentious goal after you've done all that. That can be a lot to take in, especially as a young team, especially how they had a poor result against Denmark, which was that squad of players' recent run that they put this together. That was the first time that they'd had any sort of adversity, yeah. And then for it to follow up in that, you would feel like that would be like, what's going on? So you have to, from a Scotland point of view, take advantage of that, because this team, if they still manage to get there, that away games looks impossible if Greece are still involved. You know, like that, with the way that first hour had went, the way that you're inking, it's going to be a long, long night in Greece. So you're thinking, like, we have to sort of do, and to be fair to Scotland, do exactly what they did. They totally turned it on them. So I did feel at the time, I was like, this is good, but for this to actually be meaningful, I think that we have to go on and actually win the game.
I found it interesting. I listened to the BBC podcast there, a Greek fan or a Greek football expert on discussing it, and he did talk about the age of the team, that it's different to the Greece that we always known, whether it was going back to 2004 or under Fernando Santos, where they were a really professional side, a really experienced side, like wily. They've got a lot of know-how in game intelligence, etc., etc. Whereas it's completely flipped, where they've got all these kind of nice attacking players and a really nice team to watch. Scotland kind of did make it easy for them to be so easy on the eye. But when it does get into those moments where there's pressure situations, or they need a bit of experience that they are found wanting, and it's when he talked about like what going there when if it's like on the line, I do think that he kind of mentioned that playing in front of the home fans can be like almost like a negative effect on them. Right.
Okay.
So what essentially what I'm saying is, but hopefully Greece are still in it when we need to go there to win, and then that makes an easy tie.
They fold under the pressure in there, but it's as I said, it's heartening that when we caught a break. That's what I said. Like, if we do want to look at the positive side of this, when we caught a break, we did go for the jugular for the only time that we did in the whole game, really, where when the fans got up for it, it did jolt the team. You know, it's not like we just went, the game didn't just revert back to tight after that.
Yeah,
maybe we weren't doing it in the style that the Greeks were, but we started imposing ourselves and getting really physical, and we were winning tons of set pieces round the box, which is where essentially all the goals coming in, and with the introduction of Gilmour, I do feel like that helped us sort of pass the ball a lot better and hold on to the ball better. And when and you saw it loads of times where we sort of defended well, like you were saying with Suter and Hanley, like defending in there. But then when the ball dropped edge of box, it was Gilmour. And rather than hacking it away, he would sort of drop the shoulder and at least try and find a way up the park. Often he would find out maybe an out ball at the McGinn then, because we'd lost the out ball on the other side. We don't, but we'll come to all of that. But that was the Gilmour sub should have been earlier, in my opinion, and it did have a huge impact on our ability to get forward.
Yeah, we'll obviously do a wee bit of jumping around, but on Gilmour, it just feels like it's almost like everyone but Steve Clarke views him as, it's almost like if it's not Scott McTominay's the first name on the team sheet, it's Billy Gilmour. And then you build from there, especially we did see it in the first half where again, sorry, apologies for jumping around and looking.
It's impossible not to do it with this game.
Yeah, like, I know.
The game is, this is extremely hard game to sit and try and we've done it like right on the final whistle. We're trying to decide how we're going to chop this up, but it's almost impossible because the game's ridiculous ultimately.
Because following the chat, the Terrace WhatsApp chat, we're watching the game, and you were pleading Steve Clarke to take off Lewis Ferguson. You know who Lewis Ferguson in the first half reminded me of, and this will be close to home, Tony, is Josh Campbell when he was asked to play in this deep midfield role. Every time he got
against Legia Warsaw,
it felt like every time he got the ball past him from the mid defence, he wouldn't turn. He's backward. The position he was taking
like
the ball.
When Campbell played under Maloney.
When Campbell played under Maloney, and the positioning his body position when taking the ball was really poor, and it was really flat, and then he would end up just passing back to the centre backs, and that's what I found that the most noticeable. Where you're thinking Billy Gilmour, he is the best player, and one of the reasons why he's one of the best players in the Scotland squad and why he's such a difference maker is because his body position when he's taking the ball is that he knows what's happening next. He's got a picture of the game in his mind, and he quickens the game up, and he's just got that intelligence to link play and make the right passes.
And it's in the Scotland squad, he's a unique player, similar to the Doak. They are the only players with their skill set in the entire team. And with Gilmour, you're always like, it doesn't matter if he's not at his best. It's just you need to have that, especially in international football, man. Like, you have to have that style of player. You have to be able to sort of like break a press, use all that language, but also just a guy who takes the ball in tight areas and is comfortable with it and will keep it. Because you're playing against sort of Spain, when you get into the level of Greece, this current Greece team as well, that you're going to have to. You're almost, that sounds daft, but you're almost using your central midfielder, like a guy like Gilmour, as an out ball. Like, so I could just give it to him. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter where he is in the pitch, and he'll manage to hold on to it and keep it, and then that helps the rest of the team just settle into the game.
Yeah, I think that's he's a release valve, and he's the type of player I can only relate to playing fives, but if there's a player in your team who is a lot better, and you're just like, right, I can pass to him in any situation.
Yes,
whereas there's situations in fives where I don't want the ball because I know my body position is terrible,
all the time,
and I know I can get it. I know someone will just come in and pinch it off me, and I'm shit. Whereas other players, and one of my mates is really good at it, really good at protecting the ball, and so it's like that, but at the highest level. And I think.
And that helps everyone else. It helps everyone else involved.
I think it takes a lot of pressure off. It puts a lot of players kind of mind at ease. And that you said it, Spawn, was like he's just such a unique player in that environment.
In our squad, yeah, and especially when I'm talking about like we were talking up Grant Hanley, but Grant Hanley, especially at this level, is not good on the ball. No, like he's not like at this level. So again, even more so, you need that release valve for him. You just want him to be able to just go 4 yards. There you go, and that's that side, of it done. But we'll maybe come on to that in a second, but maybe we just go back to the start at all. I think maybe we do have to say something for Angus Gunn as well, because we've been so worried about the goalkeeping situation, and like you were saying with Hanley and Suter, they done their jobs well in there, and Suter maybe a bit more in terms of being able to switch the play as well, which was good for him. And Andy Robertson in that left back role defending the back post. But what could be horrible if you're defenders when you're in this the job that they were being asked to do there, which would look like relentless at points with that Greece attack, and the style when you're being forced to switch on all the time, and that's the even harder bit than for guys like Hanley and Suter than the defending those constant crosses. That's the bit where they're probably happy. It's more when it's creeping up round the box. That's probably asking a huge amount of them. And how frustrating it must be for defenders when you do that and you've got someone humpty behind you and they cost something later in the game. And the fact that it wasn't just, we've got a world-class save, which is like the standout moment for Gunn, but Gunn was also really good with his hands. He was good at coming for punching, for crosses. He was getting lengths on his punches. And again, that's part of the reason why the rest of that defence felt that they were probably able to execute that performance better.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's games like that. It was a weird one because Greece created so many chances, but they didn't actually test Gunn until I'm trying to think. I don't think he had like a big save or like a save to make, or save of note to make until then. And then it's that moment where it's a big question that's asked of him, because especially for shots from distance, for a keeper of his size, he's been found wanting at times. And I thought it was, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, that's quite a routine save for his size. But then you heard the guys on commentary, it's like they're right behind the shot, and they were saying it was brilliant. So I was like, okay, I'll take their word from it. And then there was a different angle of it, and you do see it was a really, really good attempt by the player, and is like the tip around the post, because even on first look, it's like he's almost tipped that into the top corner, but he's really,
that could easily happen.
Yeah.
That could easily against like a strong hand, and it's something that we've been really disappointed about in recent times, because you're worried about, like, you don't have a striker who can win you a game, and you also don't have a goalkeeper who can save you points. So like you always feel like the biggest problem I always have with Scotland is it feels like everything has to be earned like fuck. Like you can't just steal anything. You can but like tonight, because of what you have with Gunn and goals, that's a match winning save. That's because that goes 2-2 there. We don't go up and score, and then so like you'll look back. That'll be look back. That moment with him, and then like we opened the show with going up the other side with Dykes. If we qualify, that's the moment. That's the minute. That's the turnaround there where that's the key moment. So it's good again for everyone involved, because you want the players to feel like they do have that. You want Gunn to feel like he can be a match-winning goalkeeper, rather than just someone there because he's the best of a bad bunch.
And it does. It feels like it's obviously not the same situation, and it's a wee bit different, but it feels similar, or this could be this campaign's Norway, a result in Oslo, where you do kind of, you're not great for long periods, and you kind of do steal it. And it's not Kenny McLean this time. I would say we've already gave him a wee bit of a kick in, and we might do later on, but Lewis Ferguson had his kind of Kenny McLean moment. It wasn't as spectacular, but it was just as significant.
Yeah, and he's not really played well for Scotland, let's be frank. No. He's never really had a good performance. And then and similar to like maybe what I was saying about Gunn there, and similar maybe about like how Dykes' career sort of like Scotland career sort of railed off a bit in recent times. Like you're hoping that's the spark. That's the moment for Lewis Ferguson, not because it was in this game, but you're hoping that that's the same for the whole thing, because he's obviously too good a player, and the impact that he's had in Italy makes you think that we're missing something. We're missing like a cog in the team that we should have.
It feels, watching it feels to me with Ferguson, and granted I don't watch a lot of Bologna. I was going to say I don't watch a lot of Bologna. I don't watch any Bologna. But just from like reading and like looking at his impact of the goals, he's the moments he's produced in Bologna. I just wonder if he's too similar, or he would be better in like a Scott McTominay role. Yeah, and there's that similarity where it's like Scott McTominay is the talisman for Scotland, so it's almost like Ferguson could just be, it's essentially his backup, and playing him the same 11 is,
or if we need them in other things. But when it comes to the best team, like which we're talking about tonight, when we've got all the best players available, it just doesn't fit in. And it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means we wish you were a centre half. We wish you were that level for Bologna as a centre half or a striker, like,
or a goalkeeper.
Because it's just the same as the Tierney Robertson thing. It's just the same as all. It's just having two good players in the same position, and you can just try and force it. And it's certainly, and we will come on to this very, very soon. It just didn't work at all, and Ferguson looked clearly extremely uncomfortable in the role he was asked to play.
Talk to me about Lyndon Dykes. You mentioned that you wanted him on sooner, and then there was a moment when he came on and he flicked on a long ball. There was cheers from the Scotland crowd, and then he scored a goal which was just pure Lyndon Dykes of just being
just a pest,
being a pest, and taking advantage of incompetence by the funny incompetence by the goalkeeper.
There was also that part of me like, he would be a fucking great signing for him when I was watching that last 10 minutes. Like, that would have been great, because I really wanted him on earlier. Simply, it's not a slight on Adams or his abilities. It's just that we were struggling so much that Adams is good when he's back to goal, but he's good with the ball coming into his body, or like coming into his feet. He is good at that, but
no, we were passing.
But we weren't even able to do that. We were basically at points only able to. We'd try and make a couple of passes, then we'd be forced wide, and then we'd forced to be shelling it forward. And I was like, well, we've got the specific man for the job. We've got like the best in the business for just making absolute rubbish out into something where you're just lobbing it. So I was like, get Dykes on, like just like if we're going to throw it up, if this is what we're going to be, if you're going to be reduced to something, sometimes you kind of just have to accept it. And I thought like exactly what you said. Like once that header and he heads it down to McGinn and we keep the ball further up the pitch. Excitement, and then people can get behind something because that's what was lacking for large periods of it. I thought he was like the 12 minutes or whatever he was on the park. He was brilliant. He won every header, even for the goal. He does manage to get a touch on it. It's not much to go on. He managed to get a touch, which forces the guy to sort of like slide it as going out for a corner, which forces the goalie to be uncomfortable. You know, because he manages to get that touch out somewhere. He makes everyone else surrounding him uncomfortable, which is essentially his MO. That's who he is. That's exactly what he does. And he done it right away. So he was superb. I thought, because when he first came on, I was like, that's good. Even at that stage, you've got someone for both boxes. And that's when you saw him for the defending. But it's good again, because the two games are so quick. It's like, feels like the return of Lyndon Dykes tonight for the Scotland Lyndon Dykes, the one who's got like a talismanic figure, really popular, and these because you say, as you said, because it's only 2 more games and they're just round the corner after this Belarus game. Give him a start on Sunday. Let him get another one on the score sheet. He's got a couple of goals going into those last 2 games, and suddenly like. You've got Gunn feeling good. You've got Dykes feeling good. You've got Hanley again, just who's been in really good form. McGinn looks like he's back. Maybe get Doak again on the park for an hour on Sunday to try and get him feeling good about himself. And then we go into then it's just round the corner. Everyone's feeling good. Everyone's feeling on form. Everyone feels a part of it, and that connection between our main players and the crowd, and also with Dykes, just a player that people are fond of, man. It's like he's just, and then there's that connection. Then we go into that one where hopefully we're going into Denmark at home, where a win or a draw's enough to win the group. And if we have all that and everyone pulling, then that's a really hard place for for anyone to come in that scenario.
So before we move into the less positive second half of the show, the current group, it looks like Denmark are on 7 points, top of the group with a +9 goal difference. Scotland are on 7, +4 goal difference. Greece are on 3, -1, and Belarus are on 0, -12. So yeah, beat Greece is an absolute must. And looking at the balance of the table, or the table dynamic just now, how are you feeling about the qualification, and what would you like to see from the Denmark-Greece game? Because that's essentially, it's like going to be watching the Scotland game, but I don't know what time
it starts straight after, I think.
Oh, does it start straight after?
So I think me, you, and the annoying thing is because obviously we've got to wait for Telford to come back. So that hour, the in between, the hour after is when that'll start. But hopefully, because it's me, you, and Telford doing the Sunday same as this, right after the game's finished. So if the 5 o'clock, so they'll finish about 7, he'll get home maybe about 8 o'clock. And then we can that's only going to be half an hour, because how much does it say about beating
Belarus?
Minnows. So hopefully we can get that done, and then we can all sit down and at least watch the second half of that game, because that's massive.
That's a big game.
It's a massive game. Like if the pub's up and down, whatever channel that's on, if you're a pub, you've got to get that on, because the pubs will be rammed after the Belarus game.
Yeah.
Because everyone will want to watch. People will be glued to that game, the Denmark-Greece game. And I just don't know, because there's the option of Greece being beat out the tournament, and then we play them, and then you know what will happen. We'll play them, and they'll have all the dropouts. Guys won't bother coming. It's just the reality. Clubs will top players out and come in. We can all pretend it won't, but that is exactly what will happen. And it doesn't mean that they won't want revenge or anything, but they won't be the team that we're playing tonight when they don't have anything to play for. It's as simple as that. So that sounds good. But also, if Greece can take some points off Denmark, it can really solidify that basically if we can take 4 points in that, not that double header, that we'll have won the group. So it's hard
I
to
think
choose.
that's the big thing for me is a draw. I think a draw is you're just the kind of best of both worlds. Denmark win. If Denmark win, then that game at Hampden Park is absolutely massive. And then I can't remember which way around to go. If it's
Denmark's
first.
last.
Denmark's last.
game.
Fucking hell. Then so you're having to probably going to Greece, trying to get a positive result, and then that Denmark game is absolutely huge. So that's, I think, without delving too much into it, just because we're just recording right after, my preference of results would be a draw, then a Greece win. Then the last thing I want is a Denmark win. People might be listening to this and thinking I'm off my head if I got something wrong, but that's the way I view it. But I think this win tonight can do so much. Like going back to what we said about how tight the fact that it's such a short-lived group. Games like this is just it's a scrappy. Finding a way to win is absolutely massive, and it's just about getting to the end of November and being top of that group. And no matter how you do it, and that's one of the ways to do it is just do what Scotland did today. And I think it was Rachel Corsie said it. It was like you're so used to Scotland being on the other end of such results. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, like, I remember being in the pub and watching, like, I think it was Czech Republic got a last minute penalty, a home game in Hampden and you could pick out all these games, and it just feels like the reverse, which is so encouraging.
So off to the World Cup in America, Joel. Not a problemo. You were kicking about America recently, weren't you?
I was. I also meant I had a slight issue because I always try and time my holidays where Hearts either don't have a game or I don't miss a big game.
Poor Jenny.
If you think that's poor for her, she had to go to 6 baseball games on holiday.
I don't know baseball well enough, but I think they go on for ages, so I'm thinking that might be 24, that might be 30 hours worth of time.
Thankfully they don't go on for as long as they used to, so it wasn't.
Right, has it changed? Like, has it genuinely changed? Right, okay.
They changed the rules. They changed rules, but on the second last day of baseball, I woke up at set my alarm early, so I woke up again lucky. She's getting waking up to someone who's set their alarm for 7 o'clock on holiday. But I wanted to get up to watch Hartford Lothian defeat Falkirk. However, I had an issue. I couldn't get access to watch it. But then I remembered about NordVPN. I did what I had to do, signed in, and before you know it, I was watching the Gorgie Juggernauts march towards the title, and there were no issues at all. Rather than having to use an illegal stream that will bring up a number of pop-ups and ads and dodgy things that would probably ruin my laptop or iPad or my phone, I was able to watch Hearts 3, Falkirk 0 without any issues. NordVPN takes online security very seriously, so you're not getting hacked and details stolen, which could have been an issue before.
And that's also, like, it's really big as well, that because when you are away, you aren't always, like, obviously you're talking about a hotel room, but sometimes you try to do stuff when you're picking up Wi-Fi to try and sort something out, like in fast food maybe, or just random places where you're trying to get, and you doesn't feel really that secure.
Yes,
you're just in
absolutely.
random places, especially anywhere. Like, you're not always in the US or whatever when you're using that type of thing. So you do really, when you're logging on to all these random I've used bus Wi-Fi's in the depths of Asia. So I do want everything to be secure, because you never know who's lurking these days.
Yeah, exactly. And that's in cafes, anything you can get, because again, my phone network doesn't allow me to. I have to buy roaming data as well. So you're trying you're trying to find any sort of Wi-Fi, but like with NordVPN, as well as watching football and TV abroad, it can get around government ID restrictions. And like I said, it takes online security very, very seriously. So if you're interested in signing up for NordVPN, you can do so with a free 30-day money-back guarantee by going to nordvpn.com/terracepod. Once more, that's nordvpn.com/terracepod for a free 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you are taking your missus to baseball, she can then watch something at the baseball while you're enjoying that sport. Easy as that. She's got a drink, she's got a bit of pizza.
Where about in America were you?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, good.
Lovely. Oh, the weather's brilliant. I would highly recommend the city.
You've been to the US quite a lot in your time, haven't you?
I have, yes, because I've turned into a really sad bastard, and we play timer holidays, so I can go and watch baseball.
Fair enough. No, but these again, I know you're making the jokes about Jenny, but sometimes that can be a cool way to using sport or music. Yes. Like gigs and stuff, it can be a good way of getting around and just seeing stuff. It can sometimes it can be really hard to make a decision. Like, there's so many places you really want to go in the world. So sometimes it can be a good way to like, right, that's on. We'll go for that, and then let's see what else is on when we're there. Yeah, does Jenny start to get into the baseball at all? She's sitting there.
She throws herself into it with vigor. So she's like, she knows that she's beginning to get she's beginning to know the rules, and she knows some of the players. So fair play to her, because some of her interests I wouldn't show the same the same intensity.
We're saying Angus Gunn as a keeper, but it sounds like Jenny as a keeper here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right,
but the bad times.
Let's move back to the bad times of Scotland's 3-1 win over Greece. I will return.
The second it started, because if we go to the starting 11, everyone we've already been into the whole Gilmour thing. So
yeah, how are you? Sorry, just like, how are you feeling about the game? Because I'd actually forgotten I thought it was Belarus tonight. For some reason, I got them mixed up, and then when I realised it was Greece, like, oh fucking yes, this is going to be a cracking game. And
feel something. Yeah.
But when you seen the starting 11, how did your kind of mood or your feeling towards the game change?
I didn't agree with it, but I tried to put myself in Clarke's shoes with the Ferguson. I had a feeling that this was going to be, and we've not seen it a lot with Ryan Christie. I know he is down south. He is a central midfielder. There's no other. That is his only role that he plays at Bournemouth, but we've not really seen it in a Scotland shirt at all. But when I saw that lineup, I was like, he must have him in there, because I think he'll want McGinn's goal threat in that left, and the fact that he's been playing essentially that role for Villa quite a lot, like that's again been his position really. So I was trying to figure it out for them. I think there was scars from the 3-0 game, and I think that was the Ferguson and Christie. He was hoping to have a more combative, more energetic midfield to get in their faces. He was thinking about off the ball, but pressing, because the last game that we played against the last time, they had the run of the midfield. They were just running over the top of us, and they were, and I think he was wanting to stop that again. But unfortunately, like we said, it made Ferguson. It forced Ferguson into a role he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, for the amount of time I've seen Ferguson in between the centre halves try to take the ball. And like you, we don't need to go over all ground. You mentioned it. His body shape was all wrong. It was rubbish. And the fact that, and then on top of that, him and Christie couldn't really get near them. They were passing us off the park. So you were getting no bite, no extra bite, or none of the extra energy for Ferguson. That side of it wasn't working. And then you had him doing something that made him was totally alien to him, and that style of role, because he's a combative all-action player. You were talking about him like McTominay. So coming and dropping off and getting off defenders, it looked so awkward. And you saw that so early, and then you're just like, so I was just like, maybe don't take, I think some managers might have taken him off. It was going that badly. Not just him. I thought his performance was bad, but not just him. It was going so badly that for Scotland that some managers might have even made a change in the first half, but I was certainly thinking that we were going to have to make a change at half time.
Absolutely, and I think I'll come and ask you about the lack of activity, but more of a collective issue for me was watching. Because it was such a big game, there was a good crowd there, and what the game meant. I just thought there would have been a bit more of a up and at them. A high intensity approach to begin the game, and that was probably the most frustrating aspect for me, was just how passive Scotland were, just how just lacking energy, and the fact that Greece were able to get a foothold really, really quickly. Scotland never surrendered it back off them.
Yeah, and by the way, I have to say, I thought James McFadden on Cold Comms was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was
brilliant. It was great balance between insight, analysis, and just being a fan and just saying what it felt like.
Yeah. So I honestly thought he was absolutely tremendous. As you said, the tactical stuff was great, and you noticed all the things that he was talking about. Like you said, they got a foothold in the game, and I was really worried because they won the ball so quickly, and then they were just pass it. They done twice in the opening 5 minutes. They played a ball wide to. Sorry, I bloody was trying to see. I've taken the team lines out because I had the team lines up because I was trying to have something for the.
Just say the Greek boy.
Yeah, the Greek boy that was playing wide on Hickey's side, and the amount of times that it was coming out, and he played little flick balls round the corner that got into the centre of the park, and then they had the ball switched to the other side right away when we're all. So I was like, they've done that twice. That is so worrying. And then when it got to the 8th minute, and they quickened the ball up at the edge of the box for the boy to miss he missed an open goal.
Yeah,
he just because he didn't connect to the ball. I was like, I wrote it in the chat that we're in big trouble here. So I was like, they were able to break through our press, which was triggered by John McGinn, which I might mention later how much it wasn't working. But just that, and the guy was doing a little flick inside. Then they've got the game in the centre midfield. The whole game's open up, able to make a quick switch. So they've got that ability to break our press so quickly. And then when they get to the edge of the box, they're able to quick it up and just basically be able to slide the ball into the goal. In the first 10 minutes, I'm like, this is going to be a unbelievably long night. And I thought, this is when I really I thought McFadden, it was so spot on when he was talking about Higgy's being forced to come in on Zolis. His name is because of number 10, because he's drifting inside, and then Hickey's feeling like he needs to go and pick him up because we need to double up on him. That was the simple. He was having so much of an impact that we were being forced to double up on him in the midfield. So Hickey was being forced to do that, and then we've got two centre halves, and neither of them want to get into the wide areas, and that's not a blame. I'm blaming anyone. It's just that Hanley doesn't want to be at right back. That's the last place that he wants to be. So then that's forcing.
He wants to be in the centre of a back three.
yeah, exactly. He wants a lot of comfortable around him. And then it just so quickly into it where Simicast, they just realised, get him right up there. Get him right up. They were pushing. They had 5 players basically up there, and Simicast is being played. The Zolis coming inside, him pushing right up onto the left, Hickey having to come inside, so he's got an extra bit. You've got McGinn being used as the main guy to pressure the ball. So when they're doing it up here, he's actually the furthest forward. So Hickey's getting no sort of support. And again, that's nobody's fault. That's tactically because McGinn's the trigger for the press for everyone. So he ends up the furthest forward. And that's just like, you're just like, that. I was sitting there thinking, they are miles ahead of us technically. They're miles ahead of us tactically. I just don't see how we're going to be able to get out of this jam without sort of major changes. And sort of the best thing I could say about the Scotland performance for that first hour was the fact that they didn't manage to create another glaring.
Yes.
Where it's like they were just able to pass round us. So as I said, it probably took to the second half before they started to really open us up again.
So that's what I was going to say, is that especially the first half was when the halftime whistle blew. It was like, the best thing you can say about that is that Scotland are still level. They've not created as good a chance as they did in the opening 10-15 minutes. Now is a perfect time to regroup and make that change that you talked about. How surprised were you that when they came out for the same start 11?
I'm not surprised. We can't say that we know Steve Clarke. We know that there's there's some sort of stubbornness.
Yeah,
and it is. There's an ego in stubbornness. I don't think it's rude to say. I don't think I'm being overly critical, because we could talk about some of the things that are really good about Clarke, the loyalty, the fact that he's built a club, all that side of it. has made Scotland be better than some of its parts in periods of his. So that's the positive side. But there's that bit where it's just like it's like he's not able to admit he's got something wrong, so he doesn't want to change it. Or if everyone's shouting for something, it's like he just won't do it. It's a bizarre sort of thing, and it's an attitude. It's an attitude he's got. And again, like so often with so many things about people, football teams, everyone you meet in society, is like their biggest strength is also their biggest weakness. I mean, in my own team with David Gray, there's probably an element of it as well. It's like he's loyalty. He's managed to get unified people behind him. But that means sometimes that he sticks with people regardless of like what's staring you in the face. And I think that was I was pulling what little hair I have out, but I can't say I was like stunned. And also, it's not, sorry, I'll let you come and say it. And also, it's not that he's, and it's also not unheard of that you give them 5 minutes after you give them a rollicking. When I was starting to lose it was when it hits that 55th minute and he still wouldn't do it. And they just created 3 chances in a row. I was like, you must be able to see what we're all seeing. It's been 55 minutes and nothing's changed. It's only getting worse. The issues that we're having are only getting worse. And I was like, it just felt, I have to say, it just felt this is his last dance. And he's going down being him, essentially.
So yeah, I'm glad you said that about the last dance, because the 10 minutes. The 10 minutes from because you put it in the group chat, it was like 5 minutes is done, like make a change, and then from there on to the opening goal, and kind of going back to Steve Clarke's stubbornness, it sometimes feels like it's like you're part of a social experiment with him, and he's just trying to test you as much as possible. But so the first change he makes is by taking Gannon Doak off and putting Billy Gilmour.
Actually, he puts Ralston on because he's forced, and hopefully Hickey's not. Yes. Hopefully Hickey's not bad, because he does. What I'm hoping for is that he clutches his hamstring a little bit, and then he starts to feel all right. But they're like, well, obviously, when you've been out for 2 years and someone's had to fucking 3D print a new hamstring out for you, that you probably don't take any risks.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you had it was back to normal with Greece dominating the game, and then Hickey gets injured. Like, it can't really get much worse. And then he brings Gilmour on. He's like, yes. And then Gannon Doak goes off like, no, just take Lewis Ferguson off. It seems like the most simple decision.
Yeah.
And then you've got a guy there who can just build. You can build through. Like we talked about, find Gannon Doak with the ball, but then he's taking him off. And then if you're in the crowd, it's like, especially if you're in the crowd, you're thinking, what the fuck? And that does have an impact on atmosphere. And then you can see it with Gannon Doak's reaction as well. He's in disbelief. Doing that, it's bad enough. But then the fact that they score a few minutes later just kind of just elevates the frustration and annoyance. At that moment, I was going to put the chat, but I was thinking, it's like, is this as bad as Hungary in the Euros? Because it was. I know Hungary was an even bigger game because of the carrot of getting through the group stages for the very first time. But this is about getting to the World Cup, and the performance up until that point was absolutely dreadful. And it felt like Steve Clarke, rather than making Scotland better with his decisions and changes, was actually negatively impacting the side. It's like, with that decision, and if he went on to lose it, it was like, you're on the cusp of being your last your last spell in charge,
and everyone's switched off. Like everyone, those last games coming up, like everyone was switched off for them. You'd have everyone getting up for it as you're going. And like as I said earlier, we're getting that stage. I was like, we need Gilmour on, because we need a new way of passing through the team. We need to be able to hold on it. We need to be able to build up through the middle, and then also take Adams off and get Dykes on. So at least we've got something to hit. We've tried all the way that you're doing it. We can't press. We can't hold on to the ball. We can't go long. So there's none of the ways that you can attack, either by winning the ball early in the final third, by getting in behind the team, by being able to go long, or by being able to build through the midfield. Christie's the only one who a few times had managed to use. I thought in the first half and in the second, he'd used his awareness really well. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's still built like a winger in there, so he's able to do the drop of the shoulder, a bit of snake kips, and he was buying us like ability to go forward. Doak, before that, the other is that Doak could put in a dangerous deep ball. I know Doak hadn't been great because he hadn't seen a lot of the ball. But when he had got it, he'd showed variation in his game.
Yeah.
He played a deep ball into there. When he had been, the one time he got the chance one-on-one, he ripped the guy and got to the byline, and the guy done well to get back to make the block when we should have got a corner. And he also recycled the ball with Robertson when nothing was on. So, just like, so it's like all these things we want to do to try and highlight Doak, and then you get Doak taken away from you, and then you take the other person who'd been doing well in the midfield out of the midfield on the left, and then you bring Gilmour and you're remaining Lewis Ferguson. And just before you come in, we're going to pay for this. We're all going to pay for this. At some point, the fact that this all came off for Clarke in quite a fortunate manner, we're all going to pay for that in the future, because that stubbornness is now getting double. That's going to be quadruple down on.
I'm going to come back to that, but I was just going to say on because that was going to be my final question to you and to wrap up there. But the final bit about Doak was, yes, he was poor. I think if you had another like an out and out winger, as like, or another player that in that type, yes, I can see replacing him and bringing that on and bringing the freshness on. But also at the same time, you have to think is that he is still a game changer, and in a game that you really want to win, because there's a home and it's the dynamic of the group, which we talked about so many times, that you really need to win that, and he can give you that one moment which other players can't. So that was so frustrating. And you said about it's going to come back and bite them. How are you feeling about the national team just now, in terms of not just kind of Clarke's management, but also the situation the team are in? And do you think we will find a way to top the group?
Find this Scotland team under Clarke it's quite knackering. It's quite that because the ups and the downs. The ups are so high at times, and then he's been quite streaky. Would be a fair way to think. Like with the streaks of good times, and then the streaks of really, really bad times. And again, goes back to what we're talking about, is having it all conditioned into one like small bit is maybe might really suit the way that we've been playing and the way that we've evolved under Clarke. But it's just, it feels like we know what's going to happen. But the beauty is, going to these next games, we have all the best players, and he did pretty much have the best team on the park today. And I just hope that there's, as I said at the start of the show, there's a galvanising effect to this, and an acceptance of getting away with it. Yeah. And we've got away with something, and that means your World Cup is right there in your hands. You've got tough games, but it's there to be had, and we have I hope I've touched wood, nothing happens in the next few weeks, that you will still have Doak, which allows you which I spoke about this off air with other people. It's like with Doak, it allows you to not play well. The only home game we've won in the last 9 before this was Croatia, and we were shit. And that was, but Doak ripped up Vardiol, one of the best defenders on the planet, and that allowed us to win the game. That was the only reason, because we had a player who could make that. And like I said before, we had to earn everything. So the fact is, we don't have to do that, but Clarke's going to do. We all know Steve Clarke now, so you hope that, because, like I said, we go on now the run, the good times. Like we've had that switch here, we've got away with it, and now we go on one of those big runs where maybe people get let off the leash a bit, and the players feel good about themselves, and the players want to, and the players just make it happen through force of will, because we're good at that. We're good at forcing things. As I said, when we normally play, and when you add Doak into that mix as a dribbler, there's so much to like about what the Scotland team can do, and hopefully Clarke takes a deep breath and allows for the enjoyment to come through, and not think too much about his role in this victory, because his role was minimal. I know you can say Kent Ferguson, he's got a tap in from a yard from a thing. It didn't change the game keeping him on, and the changes, it did change the game, which is Gilmour for that first bit, and then the last 10 minutes with Dykes are the changes that every fucking person in the stadium wanted, and he wanted them early. So please don't think don't be so stubborn and think that this is like a win for you, because it was It was despite him.
It was a win for Scotland, though, and
It sure was.
pushes us a wee bit closer to returning to our World Cup, which is in next year in North America and Mexico. Tony, we will leave it there. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, everyone, for
Can't believe it.
listening.
Can't believe we've done 55 minutes of that one game.
I mean, to be fair, I thought it was there was plenty to talk about because it was such a strange and weird game. For example, if it finished 1-0 Greece, then it would have just been 30 minutes of us just going, this was terrible. Sack Steve Clarke.
We're up the road. Don't bother with the next games, but now we're still in it, and at least we've got something to that at least that, because when if they're going to stop the club game, at least you want games that mean
matter.
something that you can get towards. So I still hump them on Sunday, and then Saturday. I think it's Saturday we play Greece away, which could very well be a pub trip for us. And then I think it's Tuesday that we play Denmark at home. But hopefully that Greece game I think it's a Saturday. If it is, then maybe a wee terrace there, because it's good because you and Rob don't have to work. Cairns doesn't have to work. Everyone doesn't have to. Nobody doesn't have to work that's in football at that time, apart from Telfer, of course.
Oh yeah, of course. No, but he won't have to because it's a away game.
Oh, it's an away game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aye. So maybe he could just host us for a big night. Get some random Scotland player on and just do it in front of us.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant host us as in we can stay go to his house. I was his flat. It's
Telfer will never have anyone in his house.
He would never have any of us round, especially Craig Fowler.
He'll just tell you about his floor. You'll never get to see it.
Herringbone, I believe. It's nice. We will leave it there. And speaking of Telfer, myself, yourself and Telfer will be back on Sunday after the Belarus game, which means something after tonight's win, and we will hopefully be discussing a straightforward victory in 25 to 30 minutes rather than the near hour we have done today. I think this is going to be our main show and on YouTube, so if you are watching on YouTube or you're listening to a podcast, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. More followers, viewers will help us grow that channel, and also check out patreon.com/Terrace Podcast, and of course NordVPN/Terrace Pod for all your NordVPN wares and wants. I'll stop talking now. Goodbye.
Cheers.